Gwen, and today I'm going to be talking a little bit about world building and how you can explore those worlds. I'm from a nearby school, Howard Street. I'm an 8th grader, and I was selected to come here and talk to all of you. So, world building. I know what you may be picturing. World being literally built. That's not it. Not really. Not what I'm really talking about anyway. Did you know there was a way for every single person watching to create their own world, and for every other single person watching to explore those worlds? You can even create an entire universe if you're feeling really snazzy. Now, people in the audience, I've heard a lot of things. People sometimes want to create a world where anything they say can happen. Some people want to create worlds where a single word on a piece of paper comes to life. Other people want to create worlds where there's no consequences for anything. It's interesting, because that's what I do. I create worlds that people can explore, and I do this through writing and doing artwork online. Some people can tell stories through speech and writing and artwork and lyrics and music, and the list goes on and on and on. Those art forms have the power to create stories, and no story is complete or full, as I like to call it, without a world behind it. And without a world, it's empty. And what is an empty world? Let's read one really quick. Mina walked, her eyes trained on the land in front of her. That was empty, vague. There was nothing behind it. There was no world, no meaning. You could imagine Mina walking down a hallway, looking ahead, walking down a sidewalk, a street, a roof. You don't really know. So let's look at a worlded story. Mina walked her path, her eyes trained on the rough, beaten road ahead of her. You saw it a bit better, didn't you? The world behind a story can be influential. It can change everything about a person and how they interpret your story or your world. A few worlds can completely change a person's worldview and aspect on the world. When I first discovered reading and writing and all of these worlds, I was in a world that surrounded me with verbal abuse and emotional abuse, and it just wasn't a happy time. And after I found these things, I found this light of joy, and I could spread that joy to other people. I'm going to play you all a quick instrumental, and I want you to close your eyes and imagine the story behind it, the world. And when that instrumental plays, afterwards, you're going to have this story from it. So go ahead. Okay, so stop imagining. Hope I didn't scare you there. When I've played this clip for other people, they've said a wide variety of things. Personally, when I close my eyes and imagine something behind this story, there's a person dancing, or they're at some kind of gathering. That's what I imagine. But with other people, it's totally different. I had someone once tell me it reminded them of a massacre, which is really scary. Or another person say it was they're at their own funeral. So for this, it's supposed to be a love story. And yet, with it behind it, people can imagine all of these great things behind it, and it's just influential for them. So, when there's something behind a story, what's the point? Why would anyone care? Why would anyone try and learn about this world or read about it? Well, I know a few people online, and I know that could sound a bit sketchy, but I know a few people online, and I have some quotes from them. And I asked them, how have books, artwork, and music affected your worldview? Morenza says, books, artwork, and music is a way to escape. When I read, I feel like I'm placed into a story, watching it all unfold. With artwork, I feel like I can understand what the artist is trying to portray. Music is basically the same feeling I get when I look at artwork. And Annie says, without the tales and books, I wouldn't aspire to be as strong as them even in the face of grief. All three give me a different perspective to reflect and learn from. Now, if you don't want to trust some people on the internet, I totally understand. But how about some local students at my school? Connor Antone says, music has affected my personality and style for the better because I used to get distracted and music opened a window to do productive things and be happy at the same time. Brenna Pruitt says, music is something I can depend on. Sometimes it's the only thing that understands me. And Serena Todella says, music is like a light that chases away the darkness of light. Art is true expression, and I keep all my books in a chest, and in that chest is everything that makes me happy. And if you don't want to trust fellow students, okay, sure. But how about some teachers? And Miss Tracy, our principal, says, I could escape farming in my world from what I thought were narrow minds by traveling via book to somewhere else. So world building can influence people greatly, and it can completely change how they see things or how they feel about where they currently are. So I don't know what you're doing still watching. Go and explore.
Hi, my name is Christine Merritt, and I'm a 7th grader at Howard Street. Today I'm going to be talking about dress codes. Dress codes, are they good? Are they bad? I asked a few people what their opinions were, and here are their responses. Lindsay said, no, because I believe it's ridiculous and overused. It's also unfair to some people when some people get away with wearing things worse than other people who get in trouble and have to change. Gavin said, not only does it make men seem like they have no self-control, but it also sexualizes parts of women that just shouldn't be, like shoulders or knees. I've never sat in class thinking, geez, I can't focus because that girl's bra strap is showing. If it were less strict and equally enforced, I wouldn't have a problem with it. And Miles said, but it's one of the rules that kinda has a purpose, but they'll dress code you for doing nothing wrong. It's just if they don't like it. Like, the purpose is that guys will get distracted or something, but really that just doesn't happen. So what are your thoughts on dress code? Because my thoughts on the subject, so I think that dress code was created to address that some students do dress inappropriately, and it could distract some people. But they focus this towards girls, and that they would only dress inappropriately, and that boys would get distracted because of it. They acted like boys can't control themselves when they see a girl's shoulder or bra strap, when really they can. Not all boys are creeps when they see a girl who's wearing shorts or a short skirt. Our dress code is to wear shorts mid-thigh or like fingertips, and to have 2 fingers for your straps. In my opinion, that is reasonable, but it's just the way it's enforced is unfair. I have nothing against any of the teachers, but they can pick favorite students, I guess you could say, and dress code those, like, the people that aren't their favorites. So have you ever been dress coded? I have at a dance because I wore a long, modest dress, but it was strapless, and you could see my shoulders, so I got dress coded, even though there were girls wearing very scandalous dresses. But, so some pros for dress codes that come with having a dress code. Dress code is used so that students don't become scandalous and wear really inappropriate things. And it prevents people from wearing gang symbols or like having gang symbols on their shirts or being in gangs, which also it can prevent them from having drugs or alcohol on their shirts, because then that kind of is like you're promoting it, which isn't very good at school. So these last 5 are from a website called koshercasual.com. Number 1, so a dress code promotes a more serious atmosphere, which emphasizes academics and promotes good behavior. Dress codes have proven to increase student achievement by encouraging students to concentrate more on their studies and less on their wardrobe. A de-emphasis on clothing can also save money, and as there will be less pressure to keep up with the expensive trends and fashions, which I disagree with, because I feel like if you have some like guidelines, then it takes a little bit longer to try to find those, because when you go to the store, you can't, like, most shorts and stuff are not dress code appropriate, I guess. So number 3 is dress codes in school settings reduce social conflict and peer pressure that may be associated with appearance. Number 4 is studies indicate that a school dress code can reduce the prevalence of certain behaviors which are often expressed through wardrobe, such as violence or promiscuity. And number 5 is, as opposed to uniforms, dress codes still allow students to wear what they want, which leaves students with a sense of choice and expression. So some cons. So it's unfair to some students because one student could be wearing, like, let's say 2 students are wearing the same skirt and it's kind of short, but it's still like school appropriate. But one girl has it higher than the other, so it's not school appropriate, and then the other person gets dress coded that is appropriate. Then that's unfair to some students. So it's mainly towards females, and males don't really matter, even though they can wear those like tank tops with the cuts in them. And rules sometimes not enforced uniformly and can be costly depending on how strict the code is. So some statistics. So 10% of schools use school-issued uniforms. 14% of schools have very strict dress codes. 48% of schools have a moderate dress code, and 26% of schools have a very casual dress code, and 2% of schools have no restrictions. And I think our school is 48%, so the moderate dress code, because we have guidelines, but they're not really intense. So some sources said, so this is from Women's E-News. So while celebrity-influenced media often celebrates women who flaunt their bodies in revealing clothing, high school authorities want to prevent this type of dressing in the classroom. Year after year, dress codes are put in place to get girls to cover up. My problem with this statement is that they say girls to cover up, but I guess boys could be scandalous and wear inappropriate shirts or something, I guess. And then it says, no walking around school half naked. Let me pause there. So so in my opinion, when I hear the term half naked, I think they're in their like bikinis or like underwear and not like shorts or something. So yeah, and then it says, if a girl comes in half naked, it's natural for boys to turn and look. It's natural for anybody to turn and look, because I don't know, it could make you uncomfortable or something, so you're gonna look, I guess. Skip that slide. So my sources, so womensenews.com, myself, other students, coachforcasual.com, articles.niche.com, and yeah, thanks.
Hi, my name is Annika Campbell, and I'm an 8th grader at Howard Street Charter School. Today I will be talking about, is being intelligent overrated? And I mean academic intelligence, so school. Who here already thinks intelligence is overrated? And have you ever felt intimidated by someone intelligent? And have you ever considered yourself intelligent? The Google definition of intelligence is the ability to acquire and apply knowledge and skills. It's pretty straightforward. Yes, being smart or intelligent is overrated, and yes, it's good to have common sense, but it's not the most important thing in the world to be a genius. Quora says, actually smart people know how socially unacceptable it is to tell other people how smart you are, or even hint at it. So smart people will only discuss intelligence in a way that's self-deprecating or draws the focus away from themselves. There are studies out there saying that the smarter you are, the less happy you are as a human. But there are also studies out there saying the exact opposite, meaning that there is a possible positive correlation and or a negative correlation. Intelligence can have a positive correlation with an income. In other words, intelligent people are more likely to develop skills and earn credentials required for many high-paying jobs such as medicine, law, and engineering. About 49% of people have less than 100 IQ, which is below average, and about 50% of people have above 100 IQ, which is above average. Here is a chart that matches up people's IQ scores with the percentage of people who have actually taken an IQ test. As you can see, in between 85 and 115 IQ score, only about 68% of people have landed there. Here's a little myth. Albert Einstein used about 13% of his brain, and we only use 11%. That's totally not true, because actually everybody uses 100% of their brain. It's just that not everyone is going to be above average, and I guess we just have to accept that some people will be smarter than other people. People expect knowledge, but little do they know that not everyone is going to be a little Einstein. meaning some people maybe expect too much from students or just people in general. Common sense versus intelligence. Intelligence is knowing knowledge and skills, picking things up quickly, applying it, and understanding it. That's basically it. Common sense is being logical, having or being taught behaviors that were influenced by others or your family, and the ability to perceive, understand, and judge things. Okay, so let's compare intelligence to strength. Being strong is very useful. It helps with lifting things, opening things, and defending yourself, and it increases your independence. So that is almost the same as intelligence because both are improved by effort, and there does come a point when strength development becomes nothing other than showing off. So yes, it's good to have intelligence and apply that to jobs, independence, and other enterprises out there, but intelligence does not shape your personality and who you are. I personally think that the work you put into your personal qualities or character is far more important than how smart you are. So yes, I do think that intelligence is overrated. So now, rethink whether you think intelligence is overrated. Do you think it is?
Hi, my name is Naya. I'm an 8th grader from Howard Street Charter School, and this is my presentation on how I feel about anxiety. It swells throughout my head, trying to burst through the layer of self-control that keeps me insane with the power of glaciers rolling down a mountainside. It grafts around my soul like an invasive python, constricting, suffocating, and asphyxiating my self-confidence. The feeling is like swimming in an ocean, with no land in sight, like taking all the words in a book and scrambling them up to where they make no sense, and being forced to read them out loud to a class full of people. Like cracked glass that's one tap away from breaking. Writing is my only escape. With writing, the words don't exactly have to roll off my tongue in a melodic way. All they have to do is be written. For my thoughts to be recycled and processed through the filter that sometimes forgets about profanity and sometimes forgets to cut back on the sarcasm, and all I have to do is write. Sometimes I write for a long time, other times not as long. Writing is my escape. When people take that away from me, I feel trapped, like all my words are stuck in the filter, clogging it up, so when I finally decide to write, words explode across any surface I can reach when a pen finally touches my fingertips. I feel like a sheep, and I'm lost, and my shepherd that was watching has forgotten all about me, and that if I keep on going without him, I will fall off the cliff like all the other sheep. It's the feeling of sitting on a rocking chair that's about to tip over. Anxiety. To give you some perspective, before speaking to people, I run through possible things for me to say to them. Ordering food, I may accidentally say I want mustard on a hamburger when I actually don't even like mustard. The reason I say things like that on the spot is I'm afraid to mess up. So I say generic things that other people like, words that are easy to say like mustard or salsa or chipotle. My mom married a man who was one of 9 children. Christmas is a nightmare for me. Over 50 people swarm into a small house where it is hot and smells of food and cheap cologne from countless uncles. That's when I excuse myself to sit outside and wait for it all to be over, because people are the main reason why I have anxiety. I can't tell if the looks on their faces are judging me or not. Now, have you ever felt judged by another person? Remember what that felt like. Did you feel like you could trust that person who judged you for the way you looked, or the way you walked, or talked, ate, sang, breathed? Probably not. It shouldn't matter what other people think, but it does impact us. Anxiety is the most common form of mental illness in the United States. Research into these disorders has shown that up to 1 in 4 adults will have an anxiety disorder in their lifetime, and that up to 1 in 10 people will have an anxiety disorder each year. For me, things that cause my anxiety: people, talking, not having trust, and the overall pressure of being a middle schooler. Because it's time to leave those feelings behind. That's what writing helps me do. So most of the time you wouldn't want to know what I've written, because I'm 2% girl and 98% stress and anxiety. You helped me stay sane. I will never stop loving you, just as you will never stop loving me. Like a deer in the headlights of my dad's rusty old pickup, you stopped me in my tracks, and my every thought was about you. You claimed the world moved in slow motion when you met me. I couldn't see why or how. I was too busy zooming past on my brother's longboard like a butterfly in a windstorm. I had no control. My parents were forced apart by a lie. It came between them and pushed them apart. It's okay if you lie, just as long as you don't forget how to tell the truth. And I know that you will make many mistakes, but so will I. Insanity means that you do something over and over expecting a different outcome. I read a book about how love makes people crazy. Well, and if love makes people crazy, well, then I am insane because I keep on coming back to you. While this is hard to say to other people, it's okay now to me. Because if I close my eyes and imagine that I'm talking to you, I'm no longer scared. My heart dances when you smile, that special only for you smile. But mine are reserved for you, the smiles that matter, the ones that count. When you feel lonely, remember who you are. Remember how easy it is for you to talk to people, then laugh because you remember how hard it is for me to. Remember that I'm never really that far away. It takes 4 minutes to decide if you love someone. You say you loved me before I loved you. We both know that's not true. One day, you said you were a table. For some reason, I understand. You hold me up when I'm feeling sad, and I can lay anything on you when I really don't want to talk about something, but I do anyway. I'm not sure if that's really what you meant, but that's how I think of you, as a weird, hilarious table. When I'm draped in a blanket while we watch some stupid TV show that I'm not even paying attention to, our heartbeats are becoming the same. If you take my hand because I'm mad at my father's decisions, you relieve the stress and the heartache that he left with me. The butterflies in my stomach swarm whenever I see you waiting for me after a long day. And when it's been too long that we've been apart, then I guess you can look at that picture that makes me look like a stoner because, like any drug, love is addictive. There's one thing that I don't like. Friends are fading like a watercolor painting. Too much water and I might lose all of them. But there are 7 words that keep us together. You are a table. I love you.
So my name's Brenna and I go to Howard Street Charter School and I'm an 8th grader. This is Redefining Beauty. So everyone think, do you or have you ever seen someone beautiful? If so, did you tell that person you thought they were beautiful? But do you consider yourself beautiful? The Google definition of beauty is a combination of qualities such as shape, color, or form. With that pleases the aesthetic senses, especially the sight. Now, with that definition of beauty, what is beautiful? Beautiful is just something or someone you see. It's just based on an appearance. But I think it's part of the feeling you get when you see someone beautiful. No one was born the same. Everybody was born different. If everyone was born the same, it would be boring, and there would be no such thing as beauty. So, why are we quick to judge when something isn't right? Well, because we're surprised. Lizzie Velasquez is labeled the ugliest girl in the world because of a health genetic disease she has. We are quick to label someone because we don't understand something, or we go to our defensive coping skills that may suck. We can go to laughing, or in this case, bullying a woman just because of her appearance. So, think before you speak. Is what you're saying kind, or is it just your defensive coping skills? Are you going to regret what you said after you said it? Words can affect someone, especially their appearance. If you're calling someone ugly behind their back, it can still hurt someone, or even if it's behind a screen. If they find out about it, they may start wearing a lot of makeup even though they don't want to, or vice versa. If someone tells me I'm wearing too much makeup and I think I'm wearing just the right amount, it affects you. I want to wear what I'm wearing, and it shouldn't be up to someone else's decision. Why do people use hurtful words? I think people use hurtful words because they're hurting themselves, and it's a coping skill they have. If you bring someone else down, somehow it's making your self-esteem go up, when that's not really the case. Beauty is in the heart, not in the appearance. If beauty was in the appearance, it wouldn't be beauty, it would be attraction. Think about someone being blind. They can't see beauty, but they still know it's there. It's a feeling they get, they know. Looks aren't everything. At the end of the day, if looks are what counted, everyone would get bored of it. Looks aren't going to define you. It's someone else's opinion of you. Everyone is different. For example, some people love to dye their hair several colors, or some people love to only wear black. But as long as they're happy with who they are, they shouldn't have to change according to what society's standards are. With beauty standards in media, girls are growing up with a certain beauty standard that they're supposed to be. seeing this ideal image of what we're supposed to look like all the time. We get told you're too fat or you're too skinny, and it can take a toll on a girl's self-esteem. You can walk through a mall and you will see these pictures of women that you're supposed to look like, because if you don't, you're not considered beautiful. Or you could be driving in the car and you'll see a billboard and it's what you're supposed to be. But you look at yourself and that's not what you look like, and that's okay. With my experience, I've grown up with this image too. I'm supposed to follow this, and being called several things, it's hurtful. But at the end of the day, it's made me a stronger person. And how it affects how we grow up, for some people, it can lead to serious mental health problems, anorexia, anxiety, depression. It's knowing of an idealistic person that they're not. But you have to keep in mind that everyone is different. With statistics, 7 in 10 girls believe they are not good enough or do not measure up in some way, including their looks, performance in school, and relationships. More than 90% of girls 15 to 17 years old want to change at least one aspect of their physical appearance, with body weight ranking the highest. Nearly a quarter of girls aged 15 to 17 would consider undergoing plastic surgery. So, is this what society is now? I don't think it is. We are society, and not everyone believes the same thing, but it's the majority that shows. So think before you speak and stop judging others.
Hi, I'm Sophia Vesey. I'm an 8th grader at Howard Street Charter School, and I'm going to be reading you a speech TED Talk about compassion. People said to me, "Toughen up," so I did. People said to me, "Go," so I left. They said, "Act like this, dress like that," so I changed. But the moment people told me to stop being who I was, I realized I didn't like who I was becoming. A shell of a person who never sticks around. A girl who immediately changes to morph into her surroundings. I want to be that girl people can come to when they're in need. I want to be that one girl that's brave enough even when she's afraid, because courage is found in the hardest of times. I am striving to become that girl. I am striving to become compassionate. Humility. Not many people know the meaning of humility. Well, according to Google, the definition of humility is a modest or low view of one's own importance, or humbleness. Now, I don't believe you can have compassion, true compassion, without humility. And I also believe that humility is one of the hardest things for a person to have. To have compassion, I try to listen to what other people have to say. I may never understand how they are feeling, but the first step is to let them know that I'm willing to help. One thing that I hate is bullying. One of the things I struggle with is linking the action to the person who caused it. I always try to be tough and seek justice, when in reality, sometimes justice can be found in a helping hand. I'm going to read you a poem that I wrote a couple years ago when I first moved here, and I was honestly afraid, and I was nervous for what was going to come. Have you ever had that feeling that you've been left behind, and all you ever want to do is run away and hide? Your friends are faded memories. They aren't by you anymore. They never come to cheer you up or show up at your door. And every time you think that it's gonna be okay, you end up being bullied. You break down and cry each day. I know I've had this feeling when I moved from here to there. The world has turned against you and you think nobody cares. But before you let the things they say hit you really deep, make it an opportunity to take that friendly leap. Learn more about all those kids who bother you. Maybe they're just experiencing something you didn't think that you knew, but go ahead and live your life. Climb that courage tree. God made you just the way you are. I know it's hard to see, but never let their comments change who you are meant to be. I have learned that I would rather be compassionate and catch the eye than unfazed and fit in. Here's a secret. I'm not as tough as I try to come across. I too fight everyday battles that, even though they may not seem to level up to others, are a lot of weight on my shoulders. I try to always be able to lighten the mood in any situation, and I can't stand serious ones. That's one of the reasons I was bullied in the past. People thought I could never keep a serious topic or even a straight face. Here's another little secret. It's because I'm afraid. I'm afraid that in a serious silence, something will happen. I want things to stay how they are. I try to use my goofiness to make other people smile, to get people to look at the bright side of things. Compassion. One simple act could change someone's life. Maybe take some time and put aside your social standing. What is right isn't always popular, and what is popular isn't always right. So I challenge you. Look around. Take a stone and make a ripple. Because courage is found in the hardest of times.
Hello, my name is Lucas Keem, and I am a 7th grader from Howard Street Charter School. I'm here to give you a presentation about capitalism. Is it good? Is it bad? No one knows. But to give you a fair warning, it is boring, and it bores me as a presenter, but I live with that every day. Before we go on this huge overview of capitalism, we have to know what is capitalism. So capitalism is the idea that people can have the right to all profits while choosing how much to pay for labor. This way businesses can sort of figure out what they are willing to pay for without sacrificing how much they will make in profits. A way I remember this is buy low, sell high, especially if there's a competing company. For example, Comcast offers some services that competing companies can't offer, like broadband internet, which explains why prices of Comcast are so high. So when I was practicing my presentation, people asked me, what are millennials? So millennials are the generation before people my age. And so just to kind of give you that, so that's between ages 18 to 29 is our millennial age. 51% of millennials do not support capitalism. I got this from the Washington Post. Those who grew up more recently, millennials, capitalism has meant a financial crisis from which the global economy still hasn't completely recovered. Millennials today do not have the luxury of making a livable wage without paying for higher education to support a family, buy a home, and own a car, as was possible in the mid-1950s. When I was giving my presentation, people asked me, what are the baby boomers? This sounds like a silly name. Well, baby boomers are the generation of ages 53 to 71. The idea of capitalism during the childhood of baby boomers meant that people were given freedom to become successful, along with proving their loyalty to the United States. Capitalism was a form of patriotism. One of the reasons baby boomers feel the way they do about capitalism is due to the circumstances in which they grew up in. Those who grew up during the Cold War, capitalism has meant freedom from the Soviet Union and other totalitarian regimes, and that was by the Washington Post once again. Here I have a graph, and being that we're not talking about the silent generation or Generation X, we're not gonna worry about them. But the baby boomer generation, as you see, has a higher amount of capitalists than socialists, and a little tiny sliver of communists. But as you see, it says 65% of baby boomers do support capitalism and think it's the right thing, while only 35% support socialism. And over here we have the millennials with only like 35% supporting capitalism and 45% supporting socialism. Part of that was also communism. The amount of people tested is unknown, unfortunately. Well, what would a pure capitalist society look like? Well, the social pyramid, or a person's importance in society, would be based solely on income. This would affect political standards by having the public trust politicians the more and more money they have. Take Donald Trump, for example. In this one time in a speech during his campaign, he talks about his wealth. He uses that as an example of why he would make a good president. People usually assume that wealth equals experience, when most of the time it doesn't. This does not just apply to president positions, it applies to all positions. I also have a photo here and to sort of kind of explain it. People who own the houses raise the prices so high that the normal people, the majority of people, can't buy it. So therefore you leave with people's homes and homeless people because people are raising the prices up so high. So how does capitalism cause classism? When I was giving my presentation again in the practice run, people asked me, what is classism? It's a form of oppression, sort of similar to racism, and it's when one person has assumed intelligence based off their assumed class. So how does capitalism cause classism? Well, most factories and labor production is now overseas for cheaper costs. This means that people who have training in specific areas are no longer able to work local jobs. Look at Detroit, for example. In the 1900s, Detroit was the 13th largest city in America with only 285,000 people. Fast forward to time, and shortly before the 1950s, Detroit had a population of almost 2 million people. What was the main cause of population growth? 3 huge businesses. Those were Chrysler, General Motors, and Ford. These companies gained business quickly and opened 25 new factories between the years 1945 and 1957. None of these new manufacturing plants were in Detroit itself. And when these big companies moved manufacturing across seas, well then lots of people were unemployed. This is an example that capitalism isn't always good for the people and isn't always good for the country. People with wealth often have the ability to accumulate more wealth. They can invest their money, buy more materials for more production of goods, and etc. How can capitalism be improved? Well, providing livable wages for workers is a big issue right now. Lots of people don't have enough money from one job to support their families, and so people have to work multiple jobs or work full-time and not be able to spend some times with their family. So that's one thing, providing livable wages for workers. Number 2, giving consumers more choices in what they are buying. You can buy a computer, and you need that computer because you won't be able to do any of your work on it. But that computer could be one of the most cheapest computers you've ever seen, and you could pay lots and lots and lots of money for that. But it doesn't matter because you need it. Keeping factories in the United States is a big issue because even though it's cheaper to have companies and manufacturing plants across seas in Asia or other places, people are losing their jobs. People have to find new work because these manufacturing plants are moved across the world. And stop raising prices too high for people to pay for. Why should people my age care about capitalism? Because it's an important idea to know when I'm older and when other people my age are older for job opportunities. However, the current form of capitalism may change in 6 to 7 years. But even if it does change, it's good to know and reflect back on the ways capitalism used to be. My opinion. Well, let's talk about my opinion. Some of the benefits of capitalism is the hope it gives people. The idea that someone can start a company from the ground up if they work hard and make a lot of money is appealing. The downside is that some people won't ever be able to achieve that, no matter how hard they work. People need connections, access to good and affordable education, a support system, and many other things in order to succeed. Their dreams and drive alone may not be enough, and that's what sucks about capitalism. I add on to capitalism every day by buying products, which is made from hardworking employees while the big businesses make all the money. I want you to think and reflect, how many of you do the same thing I do? Buy products made from hardworking employees who barely have enough money to survive on their own, while the huge businesses of people who sit in offices make all the money. And that's the reason capitalism works.
Hi, my name's Kyra Hill, and I'm an 8th grader at Howard Street Charter School, and I'm going to be talking about how society builds an image in our head and low self-esteem and all that jazz. Society builds this image in our heads of how we're supposed to be, act, and look. Social media. For an example, I'm going to use Instagram. Instagram tends to have this outlook on you and can make you feel bad about yourself, or like you're not good enough because you see someone on there that is better than you. It may also make you feel like you have to be perfect on there, and you only post things that would go with your feed or that most people will like. But many of us try and succeed to hide our flaws, and they often become invisible to others. We do this in order to create our best online selves. And in order to do this, we follow this criteria of how our photo has to look. Hide your blemishes, crop that part of your body out. Make it the perfect angle, the perfect filter, perfect caption. And maybe because of that, you're not completely yourself on Instagram and other social media sites. But that also means that other people aren't themselves. And it all just leads to this conclusion that nobody is as perfect as their Instagram feed. And maybe not all of you feel this way and you don't care as much, but I know some of you do, and it affects you whether you realize it or not. So, with all of this hiding your flaws and people being better than you, it kind of ties in with having low self-esteem. Now, I'm sure most or all of you have had low self-esteem, or you weren't confident with something about yourself, whether it's with your appearance, the way you talk, how smart you are, or just how good you are at something. You've all had low self-esteem. And it might make you not want to do things, and you put very little effort into the stuff you do, and you have high anxiety about anything and everything, and that tends to turn into failure and then self-blame, and it's all just this vicious cycle of negativity. So, this idea of social media building this image in your head, it can affect you a lot, because you see these people on there that are seen as perfect, and they are somewhat your vision of beauty, or at least have an impact on it. And you see these people and you want to be like them, or you look up to them because they do the kind of things you want to do in the future. So you just wish or get jealous of this person because they're everything you look forward to being in life, and soon this image is there of how you see yourself as needing to be. And one day you have a reality check and you're nothing like you hope to be, or you aren't on the right path to get there. You see yourself and you aren't good enough. You aren't perfect, you feel like giving up, and you just feel alone. But all it is comparing yourself to others. I have this friend, and the reason she doesn't like Instagram is because it makes her feel all these things. Insecure, ugly, depressed, sad. And you tend to get the wrong image of what your body is supposed to look like. Okay, doubting yourself and what others say. Have you ever doubted yourself about anything? I have. And it's just this feeling like, why should you even try anymore when you know you're going to fail, or you aren't good enough at something? And even if someone tries to help you and say good things about you, it doesn't help, because it doesn't matter what people say, because they're just saying it to make you feel better, right? They don't actually mean it. Because really, you're not pretty enough, not slim enough, not smart enough, not exciting enough, not attractive enough, not nice enough, not sweet enough, not kind enough, not outgoing enough, not talkative enough, not friendly enough, not tall enough, not perfect enough. You're just not enough. And then there's other people comparing you. This will tear people down, crush their self-confidence. They have better hair than you. They're smarter than you. Oh, I've seen better. Those are the things people will say. Whether they say it in a hurtful way or not, it doesn't feel good. The title of this, Society Built Up. So it all started with social media, and it all packed on and turned into being depressed or silenced. Did you know about 20% of teens experience depression before adulthood? And the third leading cause of death for young people from 15 to 24 is suicide? Anyways, sometimes you just have to stay silent, because no words can explain what's going on in your mind and heart. Have any of you ever felt that way before? On the outside, you show you're okay. You couldn't be better, and you're just happy. Well, most of the time. But on the inside, you're crying and freaking out and confused, and anxiety is taking over your body. And there's just this pain that's never really been there before, and you don't really know where it's coming from, or maybe you do, and you can't do anything about it. But all you know is it hurts. Some people take this feeling and they try to flesh it out, and they surround themselves with the people that make them the most happy. But you know, you can never truly love anyone else until you learn to love yourself. So because of that, you get better. You love yourself, you love your flaws, you're happy. Because you learned it doesn't matter what other people say or think of you. And that image in your head, it isn't you. So, you do you, boo, and don't let anybody else tell you how you're supposed to be, act, and look. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Pezier Gaudet, and I'm a 7th grade student from Howard Street Charter School. I'm going to be talking about how in the future, one day, we might be able to bring people back from the dead, something that has never existed outside of our imaginations. But new discoveries are being made every day, and believe it or not, we could be on the verge of discovering actual reanimation through science. Cracking reanimation would be a huge scientific breakthrough in our modern day technology. Not only would it allow us to rapidly increase the human population much faster than it's already increasing, thus dooming Earth even more than it's already doomed. It would also keep us from dying, obviously, and nobody likes to die. When I say coming back from the dead, most people think of A, zombies, B, vampires, or C, Jesus Christ. But when I say coming back from the dead, I'm talking about actual science. So, first we have to go back, because reanimation is something that we have to look at the past attempts in order to understand fully. Soviet scientists trying to bring back a severed dog head in 1940. They were obviously successful in bringing back the dog head. That dog stayed alive for a full hour, and later they used the same machine they were using in order to bring back a full dog, and said dog even had a bunch of children. Creepy. So, this is pretty interesting, but it could also be fake. They never show you the back of the dog's head where all the machinery should be happening. The reason for this might be because it's not actually happening. Nothing is. It's just a puppet. So this video was obviously never confirmed to have happened, and it could be fake. So it's not the most reliable piece of evidence I have, but luckily I have more. Now, in a more modern time, the Sanford Center for Resuscitation and of the Pittsburgh University were able to put several dogs into a state of death and then bring them back to life. Unlike the previous video I just showed you, this experiment took place in a more modern time period and was actually confirmed to have happened. So, how did they bring back a bunch of dead dogs? So essentially, the team froze the bodies. They completely drained the dogs of all their blood and then replaced the blood with a oxygen and glucose-laced saline solution. This saline solution was 40 to 50 degrees. I don't know what the measurement was, Fahrenheit or Celsius, but it was cold. And this kept them from rotting, and after 3 hours, the dogs were the team reversed their steps. They took the saline solution out of the dogs' bodies, and then they started pumping oxygenated blood into the dogs. And then once they had a stable amount of blood in their system, the team used a gentle electrical shock in order to wake up the dogs. And most of them woke up just fine. Some of them did wake up with a few permanent injuries, but nothing huge or major. And most of them woke up just fine. So, how this could help humans? This could help humans because in the future, with the same exact procedure or a modified procedure, you could essentially save someone's life with this. So imagine you're mortally injured. You're gushing out blood and you're bleeding out faster than the doctor can save you. And there's only one thing that might save you. So what they do is they start drawing out blood, and they start pumping inside this saline solution. And then you just black out, and they start walking, and they fix up all your wounds and close you back up. And then when you wake up, you're good as new. Obviously, there's a chance you might get some sort of permanent injury, but a permanent injury is better than a permanent death. So, yeah. I have one more piece of evidence to support my theory before I conclude this. As of March 2nd, 2016, I believe, an experiment called the Reanima Project was given ethical approval to go ahead and try and reanimate 20 brain dead patients. For those of you who do not know, brain dead simply means you have lost all functions in the brain, including voluntary or involuntary actions necessary to sustain life. So how it works is they inject a bunch of stem cells into your brain, which will hopefully regenerate some of the neurotransmitters that disappear after brain death. In addition, they will also be using transcranial brain laser therapy and median nerve stimulators in order to jumpstart your activity in your brain. So trials will last for 15 days and pretty exciting. But brain dead isn't quite the same as dead. Most people don't die from brain death. So back to what I was talking about earlier, severed dog heads. What I was saying about the whole dog head thing was important because theoretically, if this actually did happen, then it is possible to use the same method they did with the dogs to bring back a human. Imagine dying and then coming back as a severed head. It'd be kind of scary, but you'd be alive. And if you sort of put that method in with modern day technology, you might be able to get some sort of body. Now, the next piece of evidence I had was a little bit more convincing than this one. It was with the whole saline solution. Because this method really could save lives. And because if you could do this procedure on a human, then imagine how it might be able to make society a lot better. And this procedure wouldn't make you immortal, because eventually your body would age and you'd die, but it definitely give you a far better chance of making it to being old. So I hope this gives you a better idea of how a long and healthy life could be a little longer and possibly more bodiless. Because when most people say the future, they think of flying cars, robots, and long laggy Wi-Fi. I think of this. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Serena Blue, and I go to Howard Street Charter School, and I'm in 8th grade. And today I'm going to talk to you about how to end a toxic relationship. Have you ever hated your best friend? Like, I mean, loathe. Like, they walked in the room and you're like, I hate you. How many of you watching have been in a toxic relationship, whether you were the toxic one or the victim? I've been both ways. What does toxic mean? Well, it's not just a hit song by Britney Spears. By the taste of your lips. That's Britney. My definition of toxic from an emotional point would be unhealthy and emotionally draining. If you think a relationship is unhealthy, whether it's romantic or just a friendship, maybe you were friend-zoned. I don't know you. It's really important to diagnose that relationship. You must identify. So here are some questions you should ask yourself to diagnose that relationship.
ask yourself how you feel when you're around this person. Is it exhausting? Do they put you or others down constantly? Are they jealous when you hang out with other people? Do they critique you constantly? Is the relationship even equal? You have to ask yourself, am I only doing things that they want to do? And the final question that you should ask yourself is, am I a doormat? Am I letting them walk all over me? Am I putting their needs before my health? There are so many types of toxic friends, one of which would be like the gossip girl. This person gossips all the time to you, but really, when a person gossips to you, they're most likely gossiping about you. And then the dramatic one. The dramatic one, when you hang out with them, it's so exhausting because they demand so much attention, like a little baby pageant queen. And then the critic. The critic is always judging you. They're judging every single aspect of you. They're always saying things that you should fix because to them, your characteristics are wrong when they're not. And then the social climber. The social climber would use your friendship to get themselves higher on the social pyramid. That's wrong. A real life example of a toxic friendship would be the rap battle currently going on with Nicki Minaj and Remy Ma. That somehow includes Ellen DeGeneres. Their story. Well, you see, a long time ago, when those haircuts were stylish, Remy Ma and Nicki Minaj were friends. But now, they make diss tracks on each other, and they say things like this. I don't need no frauds. I don't need no drama when you call. I don't need no lies. Soon as I wake up, I keep an eye out for the snakes.
No, to be the queen of rap, you can't have a ghostwriter, and that's why this is my house, Flo Rida.
Thank you, Lucas. How to end a toxic relationship gently? Well, in my own experience earlier this year, this is what I did. I got a few second opinions. I asked my closest friends, what should I do? And I was telling them everything that was going on. This person was saying very mean things to me. For example, you're pretty for a poor girl, and oh, I guess you're smart for a poor girl. And then slowly I set light boundaries. I avoided them and stuck with my close friends, but I didn't avoid them so much to when it was obvious. Then I ended the relationship with a constructive statement. We are both stressed, but our conversations are one-sided. I feel like this relationship is unhealthy and ruining each other's emotional state. I feel like we should see other people for a while.
Okay, if you don't want to be my friend, I understand.
That was a real-life reenactment. The aftermath. Well, they were salty. They were pretty salty, but from a distance. They did try to spread rumors and lies about me, but no one ever believed them. So that's good. Thanks.